afternoon. This is Carol Kennedy, Account Manager with ApplicantStack. We'd like to thank everyone for joining today for our Onboard Overview webinar. We'll be giving everyone just a couple of minutes to dial in, so we will go ahead and allow that time, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes. Okay, we are a couple of minutes past, so thank you again, everyone, for joining today. I am joined by my colleague today, Ellen Benzine. She's also an account manager with ApplicantStack. And again, myself, Carol Kennedy, I'm also an account manager with ApplicantStack.
And Carol, I am going to jump in here for a minute. We need to check to make sure that folks can hear us. So if anybody's out there, can you put in the question box that you can hear us, please?
Okay, just waiting on that.
So we are getting some thumbs up. That means people can hear us, right?
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Just needed to check on that. Thank you, Carol.
Fantastic. My heart is beating. Thank you for the confirmation. Jumping back in, our agenda for today, we will be doing an overview of our onboard system. And specifically, we will be narrowing in on customizing your new hire portal. So we'll be talking about what is employee onboarding, why is that important, how to make your employees feel welcome. And we'll be talking about assigning supporting documents and tasks to your hires for them to complete the steps to get onboarded with your organization. To start, we do have some content for you to review that will be going into the chat. We do have a series of blogs on our site for you to review, so we encourage you to review those as well. And then we'll be sure to wrap up with a Q&A session. Those questions can be anything ApplicantStack related. It can be recruit, it can be onboard. And we just ask that you submit those questions in the questions panel, and we will do our best to answer those for you. So to start, why is employee onboarding important? And kind of defining onboarding that allows your new hires to become familiar with the company culture, policies, and other details surrounding your organization. It will help them feel more comfortable with their role and become an effective member of the team. That could consist of a number of different things: orientation, new hire paperwork, perhaps touring the office, completing some tasks to get them onboarded, and so forth. So it could look different just depending upon your needs in your organization. Why is onboarding so important? Great onboarding can boost employee retention by 82%, according to research by the Brandon Hall Group. We probably all know starting a new job can be overwhelming. So having proper support will go a long way in helping your new hire to alleviate feelings of stress and being overwhelmed as they are getting up and running. Could be a steep learning curve. We've all been there. A positive first experience sets the tone with your company, so it plays a role in employee retention and loyalty rates, and will contribute to employee engagement and confidence in how to perform their role. So, as we mentioned, we'll be focusing today on the new hire portal and how to customize that in our onboard system. So a few things you can do is upload your logo to the top of that new hire portal page. Branding is important, and it will help get your new hire excited about the new role. So they're excited for a new opportunity, joining your company. It's just going to add a little bit to that. It provides a more seamless transition as they navigate through the hiring process. So you may have branding on your ApplicantStack job board. This will just kind of carry through as they go through the process into the onboard portion. You can customize the welcome message on the new hire portal to make your new hire feel welcome, set expectations, welcome aboard, we've got X amount of days to get you up and running, things of that sort. Contact information and general information. We will talk about those, what happens, where that information is coming from, how to update that information. And then we can go ahead and upload a photo for the hires manager just to put a face with a name and make your new hire feel comfortable as they're coming into the organization. They're being greeted. They have a point of contact to reach out to if they have any questions or concerns. Supporting documents and tasks, we have a section on that new hire portal for you to upload supporting documents. Most likely thing I can think that you would want to upload would be an employee handbook, so they can become familiar with policies, procedures. You can either upload those items for all employees, or if it's specific to one individual, you can upload it just for one individual as well. And tasks, so any forms that need to be completed, any questionnaires, any information gathering, those will be covered more in depth in a future webinar, but we will touch on those today. So we're really gathering information, completing new hire forms. It's going to help your hires stay organized and be able to see quickly what is still needed of them during that onboarding process. I did want to mention we have upcoming events. Our next Ask Me Anything session is on August 27th. That will be regarding application setup. And we have a recruit webinar on August 13th. So similar to today, we will review the recruit portion of our system. So we would encourage you to attend that as well. Once we're in the system in just a little bit, I'll be sure to show you where the registration page for those items is as well. With that, we'll go ahead and hop into our system. I do have our onboard system pulled up already. And if the hire came from the recruit side, once you change that hire to the hired stage, that is going to send them over into onboard. It's going to prompt you to select the hires manager and also what workflow you would like for them to go through. So we already have our hire pushed over. We will be taking a peek at John Nicholas today. And what we'll be doing is showing you John's portal. So under the hire, we have John's information and we have view portal on the right. So that should look familiar from that PowerPoint that we just saw. So we'll talk about how to change this portal around, where the information is coming from, and then we'll go back into the system and do a review of the remaining portions of the system for you. Okay, so we mentioned you have the option to upload a logo and change the welcome message on the portal. In order to do that, you'll simply want to come back into your system. You'll navigate to the setup in the upper right under the little head and shoulders icon here. So we'll go to setup, we will go to settings, and we will edit those settings. If we come down to the bottom, you'll see the option to upload our logo to the portal. You'll simply choose that file, And then you can decide, do you want that aligned to the left, to the center, or to right? So you can see here I have center selected. And if we come back to the portal, the logo is in the center. Your welcome message, you can put as much detail in here as you would like, or keep it simple, but you can simply change that and be sure to save that, and that will update the welcome message on your portal as well. The contact information section, that is something that is pulling from the system. So we already know John's name, we know where he's located, his phone number, we know his email address. If anything changes, let's say John relocates in order to come on board with the organization, John can come in and edit that information. I will cancel out of that. Let's talk about the general information section. So this could be anything from just reminding John what his job title is, what his hire date is, where is John located. The place we set that information up, we are going to come back to our setup. A little bit different spot. We're going to come to configure now. And we're going to come to hire fields. So I will go back and forth just a little bit here, but we had location, position, and hire date. And this is where we're getting that information from. So I will come in, I will edit that field. We can see we have an option to indicate what sort of field that is. So right now it's set as text, so I can simply type that in. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and make that pick list. If I had a number of options that are pretty standard, we can go ahead and make that public or private. That simply means when the hire edits their contact information, do we want them to be able to edit that or not? Okay, you'd want to change include in general information to yes if you want them to see that. And we have a couple additional options here. If you want to see it on the hire table, you could change show on table to yes. You can make that required. You can make it recruiter only, and so forth. To actually set that information, let's come back to our hire table. We'll come to John. We will check the box next to his name, and we will set value. And if I come down, here are those three fields again. So we can simply change that information. Let's say something comes up, John's not able to actually start when we thought on June 24th, we can come in and update that information and submit that. And that will reflect on that new hire portal. Okay, coming back to the portal, the manager information. So again, we want to make our new hire field welcome. This is your manager. We'll put a face to a name. That will be managed in the user section of Onboard. So if we come back to our home page, if we come to manage users, and since we're using Faith as an example, let's come in and edit Faith's information. We can see, or at least we did see on the portal, Faith's title, we saw Faith's name, phone number, and at the very bottom you have an option to upload a photo. So your hire, again, has a little personal connection and knows who their manager is, and so forth. Coming back to the portal, we will, as we go through the system, we'll talk about supporting documents, how to assign those, and we will talk about tasks and how to assign those to your hire. So again, supporting document, they can just review that information, they can click on it and read our handbook. And then coming down to tasks, we have, for example, an I-9 form to be completed. We have an emergency contact questionnaire. We have some forms for them to complete. We can see what has been completed and what still needs to be done. So again, that's setting expectations, letting your hire know what needs to happen in order for them to have a successful onboarding process. So let's just go ahead and we'll click on Start Task for the I-9 just to give you an idea of what that will look like and what your hire will see. So if we come down to the appropriate section of the form, we can see what has auto-populated, what's already in the system. That should help with duplicate data entry, potentially any errors that happen. Anything in blue will need to be completed by your hire. And then if we come down, we are agreeing that we are signing this electronically. I am who I say I am. And we can save and finish later. Let's say I need to go look up my documentation. I can do that, or I can outright submit that. Okay, emergency contact questionnaire. Maybe we're just gathering some information. It doesn't have to be an official form with a signature. We can simply gather that information via a questionnaire. Okay, so that is how we customize our new hire portal. Your hire will receive an email with a link to the portal, a username, and a password, and that is how they will access that information. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close out of that portal and come back into the system and show you kind of how we got to that point. So I'd like to start off in our library and talk about all the items listed here. These are the things that you will commonly be using and want to reference time and time again. We encourage you to set those up in the library so you'll have them moving forward. So as far as new hire forms, we have two options for you to get forms into the system. You can import a form. We have, for example, various state tax forms. You'll simply select the ones you need and import those. We have our federal forms. So for example, the W-4. And we have some miscellaneous forms as well. Feel free to use those if those are beneficial to you. More than likely, you're going to have some custom forms for your hires to complete. You'll simply add those forms. You'll be prompted for a PDF. And we'll go ahead and hop into our North Carolina tax form just to show you what that will look like once that form is uploaded. So a couple of things to mention here. We have a few different form types. We have forms where only the hire's input is required. Maybe only employer information is required. We have hire then employer. So maybe an I-9, they're completing their section first, and then the employer comes in and completes their section, and so forth. You will see that form populate. The field should turn to blue, for lack of a better term, for those fields that need to be completed. If for some reason we're missing one, we can simply click this box on the left and drag it over. So if I need a signature box, I can put that into the appropriate section of the form. Maybe I need a date. We can modify these. We can resize them as needed by clicking and dragging. And if we double click, we can do a little bit more. We can make that field required. We can do some validation. So let's say it's a social security number. We can make sure it's in a certain format. We can autofill and so forth. Okay, that will cover creating and importing your new hire forms. Let's talk about questionnaires. So we saw that emergency contact questionnaire. Maybe you're just gathering some information. What is your t-shirt size? What is your preference for this? Do you have any allergies? Things of that nature. You can simply create a new questionnaire, select your question types. Is that a yes, no, and so forth? Is that a multiple choice? You can set that up, assign that to your hire, and then they can complete that information and you'll have that moving forward. Your messages, we have the option, if you are utilizing texting, we'll have an option here for you, or your email templates. You'll indicate which. But let's come into welcome to the hiring process so you can see that. We look forward to having you join our team. You can access the portal here. It will send them a password. So you'll simply edit those templates. We have some in here as a starter for you, or you can create your own to standardize those messages that are going out to your hires. As far as tasks, let's go ahead and hop into create task. This could be for your hires. It could be for your internal users. We've got 3 different types. We've got a file type task, so you can attach up to 10 files for hires to review. We have a general type task, so maybe we want to say to our hiring manager, please set up a workstation for so-and-so, or order a badge, something of that sort. That will be a general reminder to them to perform that task. And then we have that questionnaire type. So maybe to the hire, we want to assign the emergency contact questionnaire and have a reminder go out every 4 days until they come in and complete that information, just as a little nudge to get them to just to submit that. Checklists are pretty important. This will allow you to group together tasks and forms for different scenarios. So I used to work for the corporate office of a bank, and we had people driving on company time, not driving on company time. Some people needed to be fingerprinted, others did not. We had about, I'd say, 20 new hire packages. So we can go ahead and create those here. Maybe it's by location, maybe it's by full-time, part-time, driving, not driving. You can have as many as you need, and then you will simply drag over what is relevant to that situation. So in this case, everybody needs an employee file. We need to check their paperwork. We need to do a tour of the office. And then we'll come down. Everybody needs to fill out the W-4. We need a direct deposit authorization. For North Carolina, we do the North Carolina tax form. So in our hire system, once we get to that tab, we'll be able to assign a checklist. It's going to pull all those items over at once. You won't forget to assign something. And those supporting documents that we had mentioned, if it will be relevant to everybody. So if we want to upload a handbook, we can simply add that document. It will show at the top of everybody's portal. Okay, once we get back to the hire screen, we'll talk about how to assign a one-off to a particular individual. But here, this will go to everybody. Okay, let's hop back to our hires table. So once again, once we change somebody to hired in Recruit, they're going to come over to Onboard with certain information, name, where they live, phone number, and so forth. Our table here is showing us a quick snapshot of how many tasks have been assigned. Of those, how many have been completed. So John is about 36% done. We can customize this table and populate information. Maybe we need to track a driver's license expiration date if they are driving on company time. Where are they in the process? When was their information last modified? Who their manager is? So let's go ahead, since we're using John as an example, we will drill down into his profile. So we can see the information that came over from Recruit. Here are those fields that we populated. We have an attachment section. So maybe you want to attach a photo for a badge, something of that sort. You can attach that via Add Attachments on the right. Coming down, we have hire tasks, user tasks, completed forms, completed questionnaires. Anything in this red color is not complete. Anything in this bluish greenish color has been completed. There's also a yellow pending status as well, meaning we're working on getting that completed. We have the option to view all forms. If you want to pull all new hire forms into one, perhaps you want to print a new hire package, or we can simply view the PDF to view that tax form. So how did John complete that? We have the signature. It is date stamped, so we know when that was completed. Coming down, we have assigned supporting documents. If you have a document that is specific to John, this is where you can upload it, and it will only go to John's new hire portal. Coming down, we have any email history between you and John. We have an option to add notes, and we have history, so you can see what has happened as that hire has gone through the process. Quick review of the menu on the right. We'll have an option to add a hire manually. Let's say you found out about them last minute on Friday, they're starting on Monday. We didn't have a chance to get them through Recruit. Maybe they are a referral. We can simply add a hire manually. We can email our hires. We can add a task, or we can add a checklist. I do want to show you that. So you simply add, for example, North Carolina checklist. And as we mentioned, all of those items will come in together. So we're not forgetting anything. We'll simply submit that to assign those to John. So again, that's pretty important to make sure that nothing has missed or nothing will be missed. We can add a form individually. We can add a quick note. We can print their hire information. We can edit if anything changes. And again, at the very bottom, View Portal will allow you to view their new hire portal. Okay, hopping back to our home page. We want to mention any tasks that are outstanding. So these are incomplete tasks, will be displayed as a reminder on the home page for your user. So in this case, I need to order a uniform for John, and I need to complete some tax form information for a couple of employees. So that's just a reminder for you. And then we have our pipeline summary. So this will show you how many hires are in each stage of your process, so you can see them as they kind of progress through. Another useful area we have is our tasks tab. So you can see we have a number of filters here at the top. I just want to open all of those up so we can see everything. The way you might use this is to monitor what's happening. So if we know that, let's see here, we've got, well, we'll use me as an example. I'll be starting soon, and we can see we have some information that has not been completed. So maybe we want to send a quick reminder to the manager, hey, please come in, complete that information, or to the hire that is still outstanding. So that will provide an overall snapshot of what has not been completed and what has been completed. Coming over to our report section, we do have the option for you to create reports with fields in the system. So maybe you want to pull a report together, hire name, hire start date, information from their new hire forms. If it's a field in the system, typically you can pull that into a report and generate your own custom reports. Okay, the absolute last area to mention, we did touch on this just briefly, but under our setup and our configuration, we did talk about hire fields and how to modify those when we created that general information. There are a couple of other areas of the system that can be configured. We have our hire workflow stages. So what stages will your hire go through? Orientation, paperwork, tour of office, and so forth. You can modify those, and you can modify your workflow in the system. So those are a little bit more complex. We'll likely touch on those in the future, but that will allow you to trigger checklist emails at stage changes and so forth. So it's a little bit beyond what we want to talk about today, but we will perhaps touch on that in the future. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions. So again, those questions can be anything, ApplicantStack, Recruit, Onboard. It's up to you, and we encourage you to submit those in the questions panel. And I believe Ellen will be helping out with those today. And we will do our best to answer those questions for you.
All right, Carol, I am kicking in. Excellent job. Thank you very much for sharing all about ApplicantStack onboarding. And we do have a couple of questions. First question was, will this webinar be recorded? And will we get a copy of it? So I'll just go ahead and answer that. And Brittany, yes, it is recorded, and you will automatically get an email as a participant and get a copy of this webinar. And that really holds true for all Ask Me Anything hours as well as product webinars. Even if you're registered, yet you aren't able to participate in the webinar, you'll still get a recording of the webinar. So you'll be set. Next question is, can the new hire upload pictures of documents? So we're in onboarding, Carol, and it would be a questionnaire function.
Yes, there's a few different ways. So you could email your hire, ask them to attach that information. Once they email you back, it should come into their new hire profile. Or you can simply come in and add that as an attachment. Via add attachment, that will come to their attachment section. The third way to get that information into the system, if we create a questionnaire with a file type question. So I believe this one should be set up that way. So I have added a question, a file type, with some instructions. Please attach a document, and that should also get that into the system. That will prompt them to upload that information.
Excellent. And so, you know what I always tell people when I'm talking with them, Carol, is that there are frequently many ways to do or to achieve your goal in ApplicantStack. So
Mm-hmm.
Carol just answered that question 3 different ways, but
Yes.
you'll figure out right what the best path is for your organization. And as I always say, we share a lot of information during these webinars and Ask Me Anything hours. So if you have additional questions after we sign off, feel free to go ahead and submit a ticket. We're happy to share.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe a use case for this would be if we have a direct deposit form and we want them to attach an image of a voided check, something of that sort. That might be a use case for that scenario.
All right, excellent. Next question is, can ApplicantStack integrate with Paycom?
With Paycom, not directly. What we would recommend doing is creating a report with the information that you need and then exporting that out of the system. That is called a flat file by our technical team. And then you can simply send that to Paycom if they're willing and able to upload that information. That would be the best way to get it out of the system. So create a custom report, again, with the information that you need. We can simply export to CSV, and then send that to Paycom.
Excellent, thank you. Next question, Carol, is what would prevent a new hire from being pushed to WellSky? So I'm going to go ahead and take that if you don't mind. This is a home instead specific question. So the quick answer to that is the conditional job offer stage is the trigger stage in ApplicantStack Recruit to push information to WellSky. So you've got to move your candidate in ApplicantStack Recruit to the conditional job offer stage. And again, that information will then be pushed to WellSky. Again, that was a home instead only question.
Right, thank you for taking that one, Ellen.
Sure. Okay. Next question. I've been on ApplicantStack for a few weeks and I've been needing help. What is the best method to get assistance?
Okay. So I would recommend putting in a support ticket. So in the upper right, we have this orange and white question mark. You can go ahead and select ask a question. If there's a specific question that you have, something is not quite working correctly, you can always ask our support team. I would always also point you to our help center. We do have some resources such as getting started guides that are provided here. So we've got some videos and some walkthroughs with screenshots for you. We also have some Vimeo videos that are out there and available that we can send to you to help you get started, but I might start in our help center and just search for getting started. And that's going to provide some information, some steps to help you get up and running. Ellen, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope, I think that was all inclusive, Carol. Thank you.
Sure thing.
All right, the next question is, can I-9s be stored separately from the new hire's other documents?
In applicant stack, unfortunately, everything is kind of lumped together. So if you want to have the I-9 stored separately, perhaps, I don't want to make it more manual, but perhaps print that information out and have it in a separate file. Delete that information from applicant stack if you don't want it all together, but applicant stack will kind of lump everything together.
Carol, will you go to a new hire record in onboarding, please,
Mm-hmm.
and just show how you can download, say, the I-9 to store it elsewhere, if that's a solution?
Sure. Oh, fantastic. We have a completed form. I chose correctly for George Blake, so we can simply view that as a PDF. Depending on what browser you're using, this might look a little different, but we can download that information. We can print that information and perhaps save that as a PDF or print it out on a hard copy. And to Ellen's point, multiple ways to do the same thing. We could also try exporting that hire. That should get that information out for you as well. Perhaps save that externally, but a few different ways to get that information out of the system.
Excellent. Thank you. So this next question is geared towards home instead, although it might apply to all customers. Can you go through all the steps again if you've missed one? So I'm interpreting this, Carol, as going back to recruit, if you would please.
Okay.
And if you've missed a step or moving candidate through the stages of your recruit workflow, how can you move them back?
Okay, so let's come over to candidates. And if you need to move them back in the process, let's go ahead and click on phone screen for Carter Roberts, and we need to back them up to new. We can simply submit that and confirm that stage change.
Yep. I have a word of caution. Carol, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I have a word of caution here, however, is if you do set the stage and you back up a candidate, there could be documents or emails, I guess I should say, that are being triggered at that stage. So just be aware that you may want to delete anything that would be triggered when you're moving a candidate back to a stage.
Yes. So if there's an email trigger to go out and you don't want that to go out, you could simply remove it on that screen. Let's go ahead and submit that again. And for example, this email would theoretically be triggered. We can simply delete that if we don't want that to happen.
Excellent. Thank you. Does it cost anything for electronically signed documents?
So yes, adding the onboard portion system to your account would be an additional cost. If you are interested, please let your account manager know, and they'll be happy to review that with you. There are a couple other things to think about as you are getting set up. You can create your own custom forms, but if you simply preferred or needed our help in doing so, there would be a customization charge for that. I'm trying to think if there's any other setup costs that might be incurred, but please feel free to reach out to your account manager if you are interested, and we'll be happy to share that information with you.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to further clarify your response if you don't mind. So if you do have our onboarding software, the e-signature capability is part of that software. So you wouldn't be paying another outside source for electronic signature capabilities. That is all included in our onboarding software, for which there is a monthly fee.
Correct. And unlimited hires. So it's not a charge per hire or anything of that sort.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. To archive, next question, Carol. To archive questionnaires or messages that we no longer need but don't want to delete completely from ApplicantStack, do we check the box of the document and click Archive on the right?
Okay, I don't believe there is an option to archive messages. At least I'm not seeing it here. Some things in the system can be archived. Some things we don't have that available. So maybe a way to work around that would be to change the name and perhaps put archive and a dash in front of it, something of that sort, just to kind of group those together so you don't use them. That might be one suggestion if you don't want to outright delete them.
Mm-hmm. And you can archive. I was reading the next question, Carol. I apologize if you just said this. If you move up to questionnaires,
Mm-hmm.
those you can archive, right?
Yep, we have archive available here.
Okay, excellent. All right, next question. How can I correct an I-9 form if I make an error on it? It
Okay.
automatically turns into a PDF after completion.
Okay. We may need to get our support team involved in that, but let's talk about that. Let's switch back to onboarding. Let's come into our hires. I think George Blake had an I-9. Let's go to view portal. And to a point in the process, you can come in and edit that form with this little edit icon. I believe if the hire has completed their section and the employer has completed their section, the hire can no longer make edits. It's kind of locked out at that point. But I would try going to their new hire portal, seeing if edit form is available. And if it's not, I might go ahead and check with our support team to see how to modify that information. Let's go back. We see Form I-9. We can view that as a PDF, but I don't believe there's a way to edit it here. So that would be my suggestion. Check the new hire portal. If that's not available, I would check with support and see what can be done there.
Or I wonder, Carol, and this would depend upon approved processes within organizations as to whether or not another I-9 could be added to the portal.
That's a good point too. Maybe we want to scrap it and start over.
Right.
That might be more of an HR legal question.
Right.
Can you have...
Right. That's why I qualified what I said. So just be sure that any process like we're discussing would be approved within your organization.
Right. That's a good point.
All right. Next question, Carol. Can we only use the I-9 and not other documents like tax forms, etc.? And are there any AI automation features? Okay.
Okay, so we do have a number of forms, standard forms available, state tax forms, federal W-4, the I-9. There's quite a few standard forms available for you to use free of charge, or you can create your own custom. Ellen, there was a part 2 to that question. It's escaping me.
It's are there any AI automation features? But I'm going to back up to the first question in here. Can we only use the I-9? So I don't know if I'm interpreting that question differently or not, but if all you're sending is the I-9 to your new hires, yeah, you can absolutely send that to them. It seems kind of silly to create a checklist with just the I-9, but you could, or you could email your new hire and include the I-9 as well. Or excuse me, the actual command or the prompt would be add form from the gray menu on the right from Carol's screen that's showing right now.
Sure. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, and then the second part was the AI automation.
I don't know if I would call it AI specifically, but we do have the form, or excuse me, the system will automatically populate information that we already know what it is. So from Recruit, we know their name, we know their address. The system's going to automatically fill that in. We do have that option when we're setting up a form. Let's go back in and edit that. And we can have it autofill if we know that information. So we know the hire name as an example. We know the address and so forth. So we can autofill information. I would, again, contact our support team to make sure that's working correctly for you. But I don't know if I would necessarily call that AI, but it's a little automated for you.
And Carol, I was talking with a customer today, and she had a great question. You see the editing tools to the left side of your screen? Best practice is to upload a document as close to final form as possible. Has to be a PDF in onboarding. So we're talking about forms unique to your organization. And her question was that there's repetitive information spanning the form, um, and what's the best way to solve that. And what I'm getting at is a label type field. So if you've got forms, and let's say your company name, EIN number, whatever the case might be, is static information, that's the definition of a label type of field. And you can see Carol's hovering over it right now. So if you've got any forms, again, with static information on them, and you find yourself inputting that information time and time again, try creating a form with a label form type, and it'll prompt you to fill in the information that you want in that form. Again, a use case for that would be company name and or EIN number. EIN, I think that was repetitive. EIN number. So just as a little tidbit, as an account manager, sometimes I'm just like, um, we forget about how robust ApplicantStack is. So just a great conversation with somebody this morning, and I wanted to share that information.
Great. Thank you, Ellen.
All right, and Carol, you're getting some thank yous here, but we do have more questions coming in.
Okay.
Is the Gmail calendar integration functional for events? So we're back on the recruit side, Carol.
Okay, let's go ahead and flip to recruit. And correct. So under our setup to integrations, we have the Google Calendar integration here. We can click here to learn more about that. Okay, so your ApplicantStack administrator user should have access to that integration section. There's a support article here with snapshots of how to set that up. And then when we go to schedule an event, we should, and I don't believe it's set up in my account since we've had some changes, but we can go ahead and select a time and check available times so we can see if our team is available. And that will pop up with a calendar. And we can see, please assign at least one user. Oh, I need to assign myself. Let's go ahead and add me and check available times. So we should be able to see the user's calendars. Are they unavailable? Are they available? So that will show you.
Excellent. And this is a follow-up. Can we send calendar invite to new hires for orientation or other appointments? So we're back in onboarding.
We can certainly send an email with information, but we do not have an event functionality in Onboard. So I'm thinking, and Ellen, if you could scratch your head too, the best way to do that might be just send an email. The whatever event might be will be on this day and time, and send it to them that way.
Yeah.
Unless we have a better way to do it.
No, just to confirm what you just said, there isn't an invite like there is in Recruit in onboarding. So it would have to be through email in order to correspond with your hires for orientation information. Or texting if you have texting.
Correct.
All right. Next question. Oh, we got another thank you. Do you, Carol, going back? I think that's supposed to be, do you mind, Carol, going back and showing on screen again how to attach documents like a CPR card, driver's license, etc. So I'm thinking we're back in onboarding.
Back in onboarding, okay. So let's come back to our hires. Let's come into John's profile. and we have the attachment section, so we can simply add attachment. Or we have the other two options. We can email the hire, ask them to attach that information. Once they email back, it should come here. Or we have that option to set up a questionnaire with a file type question prompting them to attach that information. And let's see, we do have an example here. Attach documents. Let's start task. Please attach document 1 and 2. So if I were the hire, I would simply choose those files and submit that.
Excellent. Getting confirmation that a prior answer would work for Paul, so that's always good news.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh, Mamie's saying thanks so much, Carol and Ellen. We're getting some thank yous. Looks like the questions are dwindling down a little bit.
Okay, let's go ahead and give folks another minute or so to submit questions. While we're doing that, I just wanted to point it out on our homepage. We have that announcement section. So we have our upcoming Ask Me Anything listed here. We should be having that recruit webinar, I believe we had, popping up here as well, but please feel free to register for those future webinars via your homepage. And again, that announcement section in the upper left. We'd love to see you there.
All right, another question is in regard to texting, was just mentioned. Can you share a bit about texting?
Sure. Texting is available in both Recruit and Onboard. So from the hire screen or the candidate screen, if the hire has an associated phone number that is a cell phone number, we can simply click on Send Text Message. We can go ahead and type our message in here and click Send to text our hire or candidate. So there is an additional cost associated for texting. We've got basic texting, we have premium texting. Basic texting is all functionality is also included in premium texting. Premium texting also has the ability to trigger a text on a workflow, stage change, and also we have text to apply. So candidates can text a number to get a copy of the employment application. So once messages have come in, we've got our message bubble in the upper right. We can view all messages and view any history, any texting between you and your hire or your candidate. So any interest in that, please feel free to reach out to your account manager and they'll be happy to share that information with you.
All right, here's another great question, Carol. When someone does a no-show for orientation, should I just delete their hiring record?
You know, I've always been taught don't delete anything. If anything, I might create a stage no-show for orientation. Let's just say the same hire comes back 2 years later. It would be good to have that information in there and show that they were going to come on board and they never showed up. So maybe we want to track that for our own purposes. And do we really think they're going to come on board this time? So I would maybe put them in a stage so you can track that information. If you absolutely want to, we do have a delete can here. But again, I was always taught hang on to everything unless you have a reason to delete it. So once they've been terminated for X amount of years, I know there's certain laws on what has to be saved versus what doesn't for X amount of years. We would really defer those questions to, again, HR or legal, but that would be my recommendation, would be create a stage for them.
And that was absolutely what I was thinking too. Just as a tag-on question, how do we, and this is a question once again that came up in a conversation yesterday with a customer, is once a hire goes through onboarding, completes all of the tasks and forms, how do we ensure that they don't access their onboarding portal from that point forward?
Sure. So we have active stages and we have inactive stages. So let's go back to our configuration. Let's go into our stages and let's go ahead and edit that stage. So is that stage active or not? So in the new stage, we're just coming on board. Of course, we're active at that point. But maybe let's go back and no show for orientation. We probably don't want that to be active. Once they're in an inactive stage, that's going to take away their access to the portal. So maybe terminated would be another, left the company could be a stage. That would be an inactive stage.
Mm-hmm. Great. Next question. Where do you edit your text messages that are sent to a candidate?
Okay, so in the library, we have our messages section. We can simply come in and edit that. You will select, is that an email? Is that a text message? And then you can customize your template here. So we can go ahead and pull in merge codes, dear hire name. We can pull in the name, so we're not having to fill that in every time. So we have all the fields available here that can be auto-populated for you, and then you'll simply create that template.
Excellent. And so when texting, you can pull in templates that have already been created and reside in the library, or your text message can be freeform.
Correct. Same as an email.
Yep. All right. Another question. We print all forms they complete. Is there an online management way to make it necessary to print? So I think that question, Carol, would be how do you print completed forms in onboarding?
Yeah,
And we've gotten another thank you.
oh, fantastic.
Yep.
So as far as making it required, that's probably going to require some training, some internal use, but we can go ahead and view all forms. And from there, we can print those. Maybe you want to consider creating a general type task to a designated individual in the system, print their forms, assign that task to them, and then that will be their reminder that they need to complete that information or print that information out. So I would say combination of training, perhaps assigning a task as a reminder.
Mm-hmm. And if Carol does click that View All Forms button where she is, you'll see an option there that you can print as well.
Yep. We've got the option to download
Mm-hmm.
or print.
Right. So I hope that answered that question. And it is 2 minutes before the hour, and I don't see any other questions coming in. I think it's good timing.
To wrap
Carol,
it up.
I'm staring at the question box and I don't see anything more.
Okay, fantastic. We've done a great job of
Yes.
collecting time management. Fantastic. Thanks everyone again for joining today. We look forward to seeing you in the future. And everyone take care.
Thank you, Carol. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.